adult education and human development. And she has been involved in mentoring and coaching Hungarian and international students with the background support of the career service at the University of Pécs in Hungary. I see also that you did evaluate several quality research projects. So there seems to be one central focus also been within UCAN. And I think that's also something that Francesca and you share, that you were involved in quite some UCAN projects, Erasmus projects with topics integrating cultural diversity in higher education and the Digital Skills Accelerator. And I think with that, we are coming quite close to the topic you have today. So this digital bridge we have in work-based learning. And well, your research focus is on the one hand, competence building at the workplace, learning cities, a topic we had already last week in the UCAN Open Fora, and the development of adult learning professionals. So I think, so here we have someone from the adult education sector, and I'm happy to have you here, Eva, and your topic will be get in the groove. So I hope we all do that. And open pathways to digital learning at the workplaces. And I think this is a topic really relevant, especially at the moment, since some month already. So we are looking very much forward to your presentation, and I may give you the floor. I think now that the view will change now, and I'm just starting at the beginning. Will there be a poll at the beginning? Now, do we know that? There will be. Okay, but still, Eva, I give you the floor, and looking forward to presentation. And colleagues, please use the chat if questions arise during the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, Eva, for your distinguished words, and a warm welcome to everybody. Thank you very much for sacrificing your breakfast or lunch or dinner time for us. I would like to extend my gratitude to the UCAN and to my university and my students who have been working on this little project a few months now. The structure of this small talk will be about introducing hub of students of human resource counseling at the University of Pécs, with whom we try to monitor the procedures, digital transition procedures at the workplaces. From India to South Africa, we try to collect data from the very regions the students are from, and we also try to use their prior working experiences, since they are master students, so they had the chance to have work experiences from Bangladesh. I can say that one of the students was and have been a manager for the Nestlé headquarters. And we also targeted various types of companies to see how the transition of digital learning have been initiated and supported by workplaces. The research proposal is as follows. The digital learning has not only been reshaping continuing education, we claim, we posit, beyond emergency remote teaching, which has been an issue since spring 2020, but also we try to monitor if it challenges the mindset and the protocol of work-based learning. Within the research, I have not included now Hungarian results, but we did a little aside research with Hungarian students to see if these research proposal points are valid. We did one in spring, and then we also did one research in October 2020, so we have some comparative options. For the hypothesis is that we considered from the case studies That was the method of the research, that more efficient intergenerational dialogues should be involved or are involved, specifically within the concept of reverse mentoring, when more developed concepts of technology were transmitted to those of the employees who are not that massively confident about their digital skills. In a nutshell, how younger generation, how the Z generation can give facilitation options via reverse mentoring to less technologically educated seniors. This is something that we have been targeting to see. The second hypothesis was about adult learning, because we will see if it acts as a driver for change at workplaces, not only in terms of learning, but also in terms of community. And this is something which really intrigues us, to see how this whole big matrix of learning, formal and non-formal learning, are combined together with a certain type of community development, which is just a side effect. However, it could be very crucial in the working of workplaces, in the effective working of workplaces. So we have collected case studies from different regions. 6 are meticulously evaluated, but here I would like to bring 3 out of the 6. One from South Africa regarding higher education, one from Indonesia from a government perspective, and one from Turkey from a middle-sized company and government regulation perspective. We have done the poll, well done. And I would like to introduce the research questions that will be shown to you at the end of the presentation, if we can validate these questions via case studies. Question 1 is, what digital learning opportunities can be drawn from this very crisis for all parties involved at the workplace? We highlighted the importance of all parties at the workplace, so not only for employees or employers, but both. Okay, so we try to have a holistic view using the agile concept of HR, which is a relatively new concept, a totally new structure. The agile structure is in human resource functioning, which is more about communities, more flat hierarchy. That's why we think that all parties are involved at the workplace, obviously, with digital learning opportunities driven, and that was a must also. So how can we see that it's an opportunity? And question 2, what formats of learning to be recommended at post-COVID workplaces? We hope that this post-COVID era is very soon to come. So these are the questions we try to target. What we also would like to monitor, if the intergenerational dialogue is needed, and if it is needed, how it would be developed, listening to all parties involved. Okay, not only the executive part should be involved in this dialogue within the company about intergenerational options, because we think that the pathways should really be built up like you know, multi-way, not only from the top to bottom, and not only from bottom to top, but it should circulate in a way. So what the 6 cases involve, and I will give a more eloquent insight into the cases of Turkey, South Africa, and Indonesia. We have managed to collect various types of companies, from small and middle-sized to transnational ones, and also students claimed, this was their idea, is that we should very strongly include the government sector. First, I wanted to avoid a bit, but we have seen from the cases that indeed the regulations, since they are coming from the government side, should be meticulously examined, since they reflect very much on the working of the companies, if they are not transnational companies that much. So we first of all had this pre-question of, there have been digital learning tools prior COVID, and what they suppose if there will be digital learning tools. So you can see that this was quite an obvious result. Moving on to the case of South Africa, since this week dedicated to learning involves higher education, very much so. We found an opportunity of doing research at a rural-based higher education institution in South Africa, the south of South Africa. That was a university. And what were the findings is that COVID played a crucial role in enhancing innovative e-learning higher educations in South Africa, in that very region, obviously. So it's not a broad finding, it's just referring to the case. And the second thing is that through e-learning tools in South Africa during the lockdown, students from rural communities were negatively impacted. That was a hypothesis before the case was actually written. But in the end, that was also proved, this hypothesis, that students from rural communities had lack of access to digital tools, and therefore they were negatively impacted. The second case from Indonesia found that COVID fundamentally affected microeconomic stability, employment, and also, which the case had a very narrow view on, is on the organizational regulations. And the findings were that large-scale social restrictions that the Indonesian government introduced had not only led to regulation changes, but they also resulted in the organizational system changes, let it be companies of middle-sized firms or government-related services. The concept and the practice of work at home and remote working, it became the new normal. The smart work became the new normal, as in many cases of other regions in the world. However, the very interesting finding was that workers with more e-working frequency during the outbreak tended to travel more to their workplaces during new normal conditions, so-called new normal conditions. That was very much of a surprise for us. Turkey is the third case. We brought a relatively recent diagram about COVID cases in Turkey. As you see, it's also in a negative spiral of growing affected cases. The active cases are with the red, the recoveries are blue, which are, thanks to God, very massive, and the deaths are relatively staying the same according to the source of Turkish Ministry of Health. However, the case, Tashiapi company was examined, and also government regulations. And the case study confirmed that the whole process from spring to this autumn led to the digitalization of the Republic of Turkey. Computer sales increased by 40% in April solely 2020, and there were heavy discounts on internet quotas, as the case study found. For spring, restrictions were placed on job descriptions and working hours, and employees faced dismissal if they left their home. So that was not an option in Turkey to stay or go, but that was relatively harshly regulated. Some company employees were fired because they were not good with technology. That was what the case founded. In spring. In autumn, there were slight changes in the processes. The incidence of layoffs has increased considerably, and flexibility had to be gained. That was very much in the focus of the research. And employees were encouraged to do more proactive thinking and creative thinking. So as you can see from the spring emergency to the autumn more predicted emergency routines, there were definitely some sort of a facilitative processes initiated by the Republic of Turkey. To put together the results related to the first question we posited, you can see that there are these buzzwords coming from the interviews also being part of the case studies. How, what learning digital opportunities can be drawn. You can see from learning through people to self-directed learning, there were many mentions, new system, organizational behavior changes, new laws introduced, improving new processes, technology and knowledge skills development, teamwork, self-learning, empathy were all included in the results. For the second question related to recent experiences of formats of learning recommended for post workplaces according to the company's researched. Face-to-face learning, it claimed to be more beneficial for the need for work-life balance as well. Blended learning was also mentioned as an option. Two systems should be, or the hybrid system should be included. And I would like to extend my gratitude to my students who were participating in this survey. And this is a recent photo, a picture we took after one of the research community hubs. And thank you very much for listening. I'm looking forward to your comments, since we would like to have the results published soon. So that would be very facilitative if I have some comments, and I'm open to all criticism as well. Thank you very much. And I think I'm in time.
It's great, Eva. I mean, you totally in time. So thank you very much for your contribution. And at the moment, I did not see any questions directly in the chat. So maybe if somebody wants to write still, please do it now. I mean, I was maybe wondering, and maybe I could start, is I think the one that I was reminded of is also a small case study that a colleague of us, Tama Atabarut, did in Turkey on how his university actually did act within COVID-19, which is published in the new e-journal, which is, and I may now make this is the marketing part, newly published online, and it was
in October, actually, right?
Yeah, it was from the seminar across the Atlantic with colleagues from the US. So who are also, I think some of them are here today. So, and I think this is because there is very much the connection to COVID-19 and with individual case studies at this time. But I was, so maybe this is, and maybe we could do the link also in the chat. I think I have it here. Yep, I have it. So you could have a look there. And the second, what I was just wondering is your connection. I mean, this was much about learning, but I was wondering, because you talked about workplace learning, and we learned a lot on Monday by Carol on workplace and work-based learning. So how would you say did actually COVID-19 change really workplace learning? Are there any essentials you would draw out of that? And maybe you said a lot about the digital learning, but is there anything specific you would say did change?
What we saw is that it's very company specific. So as far as the company is open to new pathways, open to investment, open to rethinking, because many times it's not about the budget, it's more about the reframing of procedures, the way they look at work-based learning or workplace learning. I think it's much more about, and what we saw is much more about a sensitivity issue than budget issue, because the companies could solve, in many cases, they could solve the problems of technology, and they gave also some sort of facilitation via online trainings, but not all the companies were ready to rethink their company profile, their company mission in a way of putting much more emphasis on the circulation of the knowledge transfer, the circulation of information, and using the best practices which are there already. So I would say it's more about a concept, a new concept, a reframing process.
Okay. Okay, I see. Yeah. And do you have, because I also have in mind that we were at least in the university sector, there are a lot of things talking about how can we have virtual laboratories. I mean, there are some things when you're in industry, when we like working as we are, it's not a big problem normally if you have good internet mostly, but really about workplaces where you need really to, well, virtualize or digitalize the working you did normally in laboratories. Did you come across something like that?
Well, for the case of South Africa, this is going to be the next step in the process of research to see how the concept of lack is being filled in, you know, where there are literally no options of being connected digitally. And since they have to solve the problem of work learning without, you know, any type of background. So there are hybrid options. This is what the case study would confirm. Flexibility and innovation, I think the key words to re-innovate something that we already know, but let's put it into practice.
Okay, so then I would say thank you very much.
Thank
Oh,
you.
there's one. Susan, I see Susan. No,
Yes,
there was
please.
one question. Please,
Yes.
so just Susan, and then I will close the round for time, but please.
Thank you. I would be curious. I'm Susan Dunkel, Damon College, Buffalo, New York, the U.S. Eva, thank you. And Dr. Eva, if anyone on the meeting knew, we had to, as a teacher educator, we had to go from having our students conduct practicum with young students within the classroom to going online and Zooming with the students and teachers and trying to negotiate not being able to be physically present with second graders, third graders, so 7 through 10-year-olds. Has anybody else had that experience? I would just wonder, and if so, how did you handle that? Or even you with your own college students? Did you find that transition very difficult?
If I just comment on adult learners, what was a surprise is that they need more discipline, I would say, even though we posited it that they would obey the rules and be present with cameras and participate. What I have seen from spring, it worked relatively well, but now in the autumn time, we basically lost our students via online hiding.
Yeah, for participation, I have them sign on as soon as they can find a comfortable space, because there's research about students living in poverty as well and how it affects them, us being able to see their homes. But then we do some negotiations. But yes, when they just completely stop showing their faces, it's very difficult. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, not at all, Susan. Thank you for the comment. But one more hint
Please.
is that more of a lobby education, I call, because students are waiting in the lobby of the Teams or of the Zoom. So it's difficult to get the participation role. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. What I just maybe can also, I think there's something, Susan, that you said also was coming in, maybe the question how we had that, I think in this seminar across the Atlantic, also the question of emotions, how we get in different things, you know, not having these formalized, strict, clear online meetings where everything is. So how do we deal with these informal things, and also with the more, I would say, emotional part? Maybe that's not the right part, the right word, but how we deal with that, and how we can transition with that in the online format. I think this is something that I think, and I learned also, and I think I'm more sensitive also with my students now for that. So where do we have that, you know? So yeah. Okay, and I see already, so the discussion is starting. Susan says she has had not the same experience, but Susan, I give you now the really last word, and then we move on to Francesca. And then, Sue, sorry, Sue, not Susan, it was Sue Holmes. No, sorry, you're still not, it doesn't work. You seem to have the wrong audio. Now.
Yeah, got so many buttons to press. I've not had the same experience at all. I mean, I've got adult learners, and they've been very engaged week on week. I do make sure that I know who is there, and that I do include them. So I do, you know, continually say, call out their name and ask them if they've got anything to say, whether they're too frightened to go off because they might be called. But I've not had the same experience at all. I've been very, very pleased.
Thank you for that. And I think maybe that is something, and maybe this could a later topic, also the question of adult learners and of young students, you know. So I think we really should look at our students and what that makes with them. Okay, well, so we come from the one to the other. So I say thank you very much, Eva, for sharing your results, and we're looking forward to read and more of that. And I may move on to another colleague who will present today, Francesca URAS, a dear colleague from UCAN. And Francesca, well, where did I have that? I should know it actually by heart, but still, yeah, I have it somewhere else, I guess. Francesca is project manager within UCAN, I think since 2014. She has a background in political studies and also democratic studies. This is when you don't find, here it is.
I can help you, Eva.
No, I do that. So background in political sciences, international relations, and human rights. And I think this is a really very interesting combination of studies. And what Francesca was involved, and I think this is also important connection for today, she was also involved in our Apprend project, which was a project that combined, I think John was also involved at an evaluator or so in this project, John Talbot. It was a previous Erasmus Plus project where it was about the cooperation between higher vet providers and enterprises through the promotion of apprenticeship schemes at that point. So I think a lot of material is available on that, and this could be found at the UCAN website. But today we are not with Apprend, but actually with a new project that we started, or that UCAN started with colleagues from across, and I think some of them are here. You will say more of that, colleagues beyond the European Union, and I think a very interesting project which is called ULLL. And well, Francesca, I may give you the floor with a small, it's on the very start of the project. So it's more on the what will be done or what could be done within this project. And it's about refining work-based learning systems in higher education outside the European Union. Francesca, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Eva. I will try to share my screen. Tell me if it works. Let's see. Hope you can see it well.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you for this introduction. Yes, this presentation is about ULLL, which is one of the projects currently coordinated by UCAN, aiming to refine work-based learning practices in higher education in 3 countries outside the European Union, which are Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan. The whole project starts from the premise that within the very wide landscape of university business cooperation, certainly work-based learning plays a very important role. And I think this is true for any country, whether within and outside the European Union. The benefits of work-based learning are quite evident for all the actors involved in the process. For higher education, work-based learning offers the opportunity to improve the professional dimension and relevance of their teaching methods, of the curricula. It aims to accelerate the exchanges with the business community and therefore learn about the real needs of the labor market, and also offers the opportunity to improve the employment prospects of students and graduates. Which is among the aims of the whole university work. For the business community, work-based learning means also the possibility to feedback universities about what the features and needs of the work environment are. It offers the opportunity to train students in real tasks, and also the opportunity to identify and eventually recruit future employees. For public authorities, work-based learning is one of the ways by which unemployment, and especially youth unemployment, can be addressed, which is one of the challenges of today's society and economy, one of the most urgent ones. And finally, for higher education students, which should be seen at the very center of whole this picture, work-based learning offers the opportunity to, at the same time, acquire academic teaching, but also build up practical skills, learn how a real work environment works, and develop those skills and competencies that are needed for later employment. So this is the awareness and the understanding on which the whole project is actually based. ULLL is an Erasmus Plus project. It is co-funded within the Key Action 2, capacity building in the field of higher education. It started in January 2020. It had suffered from some delays due to the whole COVID situation, as you can imagine, and it will last approximately 3 years. The consortium is made up of 12 partners, 11 of which are higher education institutions. So 3 of these universities are based in the European Union, in Spain, Austria, and France, while the other 8 are non-European universities. 4 are based in Russia, 2 in Belarus, and 2 in Azerbaijan. We already have 11 associate partners represented by Association of SMEs, Chambers of Commerce and Enterprises, all based in the 3 countries, Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan. we really believe enterprises need to be fully involved in all the work we do during the project. And so, so ULLL focus on both work-based learning during the study programs and work placement for graduate students. We try to cover both areas. So why ULLL and what are the key issues when it comes to work-based learning in the 3 countries that we are focusing on? There are several issues, and I'm sure that some of these issues are shared and resonate also with the problems and challenges that other countries and other universities in Europe are currently facing. I try to make a selection of these issues, but there are more. For example, we observe the fact that career centers are not very much involved in practical placement procedures. Career support services are not diversified enough. So there's a lot of space for improvement in this sense. There's a tendency to have a very poor practical placement guidance. The employment perspectives students have are quite uncertain, and students tend to feel dissatisfied about the quality of the preparation they receive in universities. They don't feel they are enough prepared to access the employment and the labor market. So there's a wide gap still between university education and what the kind of qualification, the kind of skills that students develop at university, and what the labor market needs are concretely. There's a need to improve and modernize agreements on university business cooperation. There's a need to establish a proper follow-up system of student employment success. So it's difficult to follow up students once they graduate. And there's a need to learn about existing good models abroad and experiences and practices that could inspire partner universities in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan to improve their current systems. So ULLL really aims to address this problematic aspect of university business cooperation in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan, supporting the modernization of higher education systems in these countries, thanks to the cooperation with European, more experienced partners. And how to do that? Well, the project is or aims to identify what are the weaknesses of the current work-based learning practices in the 3 countries. We aim to develop a set of standards, tools, and models that can be provided to the universities in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan to better equip their students for employment. We aim throughout the project to strengthen, widen, and deepen existing university business cooperations and create new ones. And more concretely, we also aim to design a students' portal for practical placement. So this will be a tool available for students, and also develop a model network of university career center. So these are a little bit the main objectives of the project. So how are we going to work on this? So ULLL will run through different phases, but also present some key elements and components that will underlie all the work we do. And I think the most important one is peer learning. So peer learning is really at the base of the whole project, and it will be implemented through several project activities. Actually, the whole project started with a very strong peer learning approach. At the beginning of the project, in the partner countries, so in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan, we had partner universities working collaboratively together on preparing national reports on the state of play of work-based learning in their country. So trying to identify the major weaknesses, space for improvement, also including feedback from enterprises based in the region. And these national reports were discussed. They were shared on the occasion of the first project event, which was a seminar we held in Barcelona just before the lockdown. So we had the chance to meet just before the lockdown. And at the same time, on the occasion of this first event, the European partners on their side shared existing examples of successful work-based learning practices that could feed the learning and inspire partner universities in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan. The second component of this peer learning approach is will be the focus groups. So we are encouraging, and we've just started the process, the establishment of focus groups at local and regional level around each of the partner university in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan. These are focus groups which are aimed to be spaces for discussion with all the stakeholders involved already or concerned by work-based learning practices. And through these focus groups that will meet regularly during the project, we will try to gather feedback from local and regional stakeholders on the work UNILAB is doing, on how it could be better adapted to the specific context, and how relevant the work we are doing will be. So we will try to explore this at local and regional level, and to establish links and connections around each university. And finally, peer learning will be obviously implemented through 3 study visits. Each one will be organized and hosted by one of the European partner university around one of the key aspects of work-based learning that we decided to work on. So for example, we've just had the first study visit. It was organized by the Barcelona School of Management of the University Pompeu Fabra. Unfortunately, it had to be held online because of the COVID situation. Nobody could travel to Barcelona, of course. But even like this, it was, I think, a very useful learning experience for the partners, because they could actually hear about the existing university business cooperation strategies implemented by the Spanish university. And they could hear from all the actors involved in the process. And so around this first study visit, the first development phase of the project will be constructed, aimed to develop a strategic plan for developing and improving university business cooperation, and through the development of an ideal model of university business cooperation strategy, which of course will need then to be tested and validated by each single university. We know we need to be flexible, and that each university, each country has its own needs, its own characteristics. So we are fully aware of this. The following development phase will consist in the design of a prototype of education program which allow for example, designing tailor-made programs with employers. So an education program that can take into account the requirements, the needs of the labor markets and the employers. And besides this, we will work on the development of a prototype of extracurricular activities that will be aimed to support students in make a better transition from education to the labor market. So these extracurricular activities will cover, for example, the development of entrepreneurship skills, or self-branding, self-understanding skills, and will be offered in the future, the idea is to embed these extracurricular activities in the services offered by the career centers in the universities. So following this, the following development phase turn around the second study visit. The second study visit will be organized by the University of Applied Sciences, Krems, around the topic of online tools for students and alumni. And at the end of this phase, the idea is to develop what I mentioned before, this students portal for practical placement, which will be linked to the project website. And it is thought to be a platform for students to access all kinds of useful documentations, tools, database of organizations, but also videos and success stories, examples. So also a place where they can learn from other students and discover other students' experiences with practical placement. And finally, the last development phase will turn around the third study visit, this time organized by the University of Lille in France, around the topic of practical tools for work-based learning. So the aim of this phase is to support the partner universities in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan to work on developing the principles and philosophy of modern practical placement, but also the standards of modern practical placement, for example, when it comes to quality planning, quality control, quality evaluation, and finally also develop a set of practical tools to support work-based learning, for example, digital portfolios or peer reviews, and other tools that are actually in use, for example, at the University of Lille, which will explain about them to the partner universities. And at the end of this phase, we aim also to develop this career center model, which in our ambition will be aimed to provide students with better employment opportunities at different level, not only local, regional, national, but also international, and which should include, for example, channels by which students can meet with employers or attend open lectures, workshops, and be supported through a set of services and activities. So this is a little bit how the project will develop, and I think really the aim, this is a diagram that was developed at the end of the initial peer learning phase of the project to try have a visual representation of the whole work-based learning itinerary from before work-based learning starts up to the final objective of ULLL in this case, which is to increase students' employability. So with this objective in mind, we have constructed this diagram, which illustrates all the different possible moments of intervention. So there's the curricular development phase, there's the access of students into the process, there's the preparation of the work-based learning phase, the placement, the monitoring, the evaluation, and finally the graduation. And our idea is really to support partner universities in Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan to assess where in this process they have concrete chances and interest of intervening. So as I said, we are aware that the context can differ, the universities work differently, and each country has its own characteristics. And we need to be realistic, we need to be ambitious, we need to be realistic at the same time. So each university need to really assess what they can do, at which phases they need to improve their current practices, and then plan the work needed. And our idea is to support them by providing tools, models, and peer learning opportunities. Yeah, so this is a list of our final expected results. All of them will be available on the project website. Some of them are already available. We will have national reports of the state of the art in the 3 countries. We will have European case studies on work-based learning at the level of higher education. We will have strategic plans and model to improve university business collaboration. We will have a students portal with guidelines, tools, and other models and tools for work-based learning. Of course, dissemination and valorization of all the project results will run transversally during the project. We will have final national conferences in each of the country, the partner country, Russia, Belarus, and Azerbaijan, and we will have a final conference in Baku in 2022. So, yeah, I would like to end with a call. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the project, the European partners provided examples of case studies of successful currently running work-based learning programs and practices at the level of higher education. These case studies will be soon published on the project website. We have a library that we would like to build up. And we thought that it would be interesting to collect more cases. So if you are currently running, or you know of any good example of work-based learning program or practice at the level of higher education, we would like to hear from you, to receive your case, and we would like to publish your case in the library that we are building up. The case studies can actually refer to any discipline. There's no limit with regards to this. They can refer to any qualification level, and they can be, for example, cases highlighting the successful cooperation between university and business in the writing of the curricula, for example, or they can be cases where the organization and reflection of learning during the work-based learning process is especially represented. There are different aspects of work-based learning that could be relevant for our cases, and we don't have any specific template, so you're free to send us your existing samples if you have. And finally, this is the full UNILAB consortium. I didn't mention each single university, not to be too long, but you have all the full names in the project website. Also, on Friday, in the Friday's panel, you will have the chance to hear from one of our partners and also one of the author of the project proposal, Valentina Koronova from Siberian Federal University.
Francesca, but at some point I need to stop you because it's 1 o'clock and there were so many questions in the chat for you, and I would at least... Sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
So even to have a short round on that. So thank you very much, Francesca. So we will keep everybody informed so that people could come back on Friday and learn more.
Okay.
But at least I would like to have some of the answered questions answered here now. I mean, the rest I think we can take also to Friday, parts of it. But maybe you could have a look with me, and maybe that I don't need to read them. You need just to click on the chat symbol, because there was, I think one was about the career guidance centers, if they're already there or if you build them up.
So in some cases, yes, there is already a career center in place. In other, there is not. But even where the career center is in place, I think there is an issue with the organizational aspects in the sense that it's not very clear and structured the way responsibilities are shared between the career center and the different units, the different faculties and departments. So this is an issue. I think it's an issue even elsewhere. It's an issue of distribution of responsibilities. So yes, well, we have both cases. University already have a career center and others that do not yet.
Okay, I would, there is just, and I think this is also important, the question was about, is it the goal to improve or to give to improve models, or is it to give information on how to implement?
Okay. I think the idea is to, on the basis of what already exists and what is already in place in the European partner university who participates in the project, the idea is to start from what exists, but of course adapt and implement a suited version of what we have to the specific context. So we don't aim to just replicate the same exact tools and models everywhere. We are open and aware that we need to be flexible, and that each university, each country will have to assess what they can do and what they want to do.
So then I would raise two final points, because already people are writing that they will send case studies. Thank you for that. There was the question if there are accepted US case studies too, because we have actually also one yesterday, and
yes, absolutely.
are accepted.
Thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. And then I think this is also important. There was a lot, or there were some comments around the involvement of companies. Maybe you can say, of enterprises, companies, could you say just a few words on that for today?
So, well, as I mentioned in the beginning, we think that, and we thought since the writing of the proposal, that enterprises and business had to be fully involved in the project. This is something that we learned also through our previous Apprent project, because they are part of the process. And they are part of the learning that UNILAB is trying to promote. So, for example, I mentioned these focus groups that have been established in around each partner university in each country, and each focus group has to involve, fully activate enterprises at local and regional level. So they are called to contribute to what they are doing, to give their opinion and say how relevant what we are doing is for them as well. Yes.
Okay. So thank you. I think with this, actually, how would you say, with the end to the companies, I can also, on the one hand, say thank you very much to Francesca, to you, and Eva, to you, and for your presentations and sharing your projects, research, also first outcomes. And actually, with regard to workplace, we will go on with that tomorrow. We will go tomorrow. Lucilia is already here today also, to the University of Aveiro, and look at this relationship industry and higher education institution. So I'm hoping very much to see you all tomorrow at 12 o'clock sharp again. In my time, I have to say, looking at the colleagues all over the world. So in 12 o'clock Berlin. And yeah, have a good day. I hope it was interesting for you, and I hope to see you tomorrow then. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.